Welcome back to Strangest Species, episode 9. Going at it.
Woo woo.
Woo. I am your host, Mike Davis, here with the lovely Ethne Davis, as always.
Hello, hello.
How's life?
It is busy.
Whose fault is that?
I mean, ours.
Totally.
Yeah, it's just lots of busy.
Lots busy.
Mm-hmm.
I am ready for bed.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
So, no, it has been busy. We were gone all weekend in Oregon, and this weekend we're heading to Boise.
And the weekend before that,
you've been gone like 5 weekends
in a row. Anyway, we got this.
We got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you remember that one time when we got married?
I remember that one time that we got married. Mm-hmm.
Me too. Do you remember our reception up in Canada?
Yes, I do. That was wild.
Why was it wild?
It was like
Fill us in on the wildness.
Okay. Picturesque, beautiful evening, sunset setting over like the foothills and the Rocky Mountains in the background. We had caterers and a tent and all sorts of outside. Mm-hmm. At my parents' property. And we had like a dance floor and all sorts of flowers. And just a couple days before this, we'd already had a crazy hailstorm that dented our cars. Like Calgary weather's just wild. And so
completely ruined
all the plants
that
my mom had bought, flattened them. Anyway, so this was perfect. And literally out of nowhere, I mean, we're talking wind gusts of just epic proportions. The tents were blowing over.
Tables were literally
flipping over
and rolling
with like food on them. And my father-in-law is like, grab the tent. And he's like directing traffic and everyone's holding down the tent, the big, where the food was. And the photographer just taking pictures of all the mayhem. And we jammed everybody in my parents' house. And that was just, anyway. But to this day, that is the one reception that everybody remembers that came. They're like, that was so crazy and so fun. So,
that is true. We do get a lot of that.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was wild. And it was bizarre. And that's kind of going to set up our conversation tonight. Just being, you can have bizarre weather that kind of comes out of nowhere and really, really, really just wreaks havoc on things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk a little bit today about, I'm going to call it weather. I don't know if it's technically weather or not, but a very, very unique form of potential natural disaster. That's not one that is normally talked about.
Okay.
So to preface it, we're going to go back to September 1859. Actually, I'm not yet. Imagine real fast, real quick, whatever I'm trying to say. We're recording right now. It is, what time is it? It's late. It's 10:21 p.m. Imagine while we're recording, all of a sudden, it got so bright outside that it looked like day. Like this window behind me just lit up.
That'd be so weird.
What would you think? What would you think is happening? What would you...
I mean, do you want me to say something spiritual? Because that's what came to my mind.
You can say whatever you want.
I mean, maybe like an eclipse or something. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But like a backwards eclipse.
I don't know what I would think either.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd be in super awe,
yeah.
right? And you'd be kind of shocked. So this happened in September 1859 to lots of people throughout the world, but specifically there was the one we're going to talk about for a second, there was a group of miners in Colorado who just got up with the sun and they woke up and started getting ready, eating breakfast, and looked at their clocks and it was like, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Why is it so bright outside? And they went outside, and the sky was fully illuminated. But it wasn't the sun. It was actually the northern lights.
The northern lights were that bright?
They were that bright. Not only were they that bright, they stretched as far south as central Mexico.
Huh. I mean, in Calgary, I've seen the northern lights many, many times. But I can't even imagine how they would illuminate the entire sky.
I assume it probably isn't as bright as the sun.
But
it's probably, in this case, as bright as the sun coming up in the morning,
like the dawn.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So the question is, what would cause them to be so bright? Not that I'm expecting you to know the answer.
I don't know, but maybe some... Yeah, okay. I have no clue. I was thinking like some chemical in the sky, like reacting with them or something. That's where I don't know.
Yeah. It's a good thought.
Okay.
It's a good thought, Ethne. So what it was an event. This is called the Carrington event. Have you heard of it before?
No.
It's okay. It's good. Because not only do I not want you to ever know what we're talking about, once you find out what we're talking about, I still hope you don't know what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, perfect. I guess it's working. Yeah.
So the Carrington event was a ginormous coronal mass ejection. What that means is it is a ginormous ejection of plasma from the surface of the sun. Think of it like a volcano eruption on the surface of the sun, only like not a volcano, like billions and billions of times bigger.
So it really wasn't the northern lights.
Well, it was the northern lights. So what happens is you get the sun will have these massive, well, it happens all the time actually. It'll have these coronal ejections. So it's an explosion of magnetic radiation.
Okay.
And plasma that will fire off just in any direction.
Okay. I'm thinking of plasma in our blood.
No, plasma like the ooey gooey fiery stuff that the sun's made out of. That's very scientific sounding, right?
I like that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So essentially like a volcano, but of different materials than what we...
Right. And there's no, physical volcano.
Right, but it's like just out of its surface, just
right.
Exploding out. Yeah.
But these things are, hundreds of thousands of times larger than the size of the Earth.
Okay. And so this was
they can be.
Okay, this was an exceptionally big one.
Right. So they happen fairly frequently, but they go in all directions because the sun's a sphere, right? But every once in a while, we'll shoot one of these at the Earth. Most of the time, it doesn't cause a problem because as all that magnetic radiation hits the Earth, it's absorbed by the atmosphere, it's pushed to the poles, and that's what creates the northern lights or the southern lights. So it happens all the time. But
to this
one
extent, I see.
Was a really, really big one. And it caused significant problems. And this is 1859.
Right. Very, like we haven't had a lot of industrialization and stuff
right.
like
This
that.
is kind of the...
Very yeah.
It's primitive for today, but very not primitive for the history of humanity.
I guess that's true. Right.
This is very industrialized comparatively. And they had telegraphs back then. And that's when a lot of it was noticed, was in the telegraphs. So these CMEs, these coronal mass ejections, they cause, they produce a current in anything that will conduct electricity. Anything.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so telegraphs had tons and tons and tons of miles of wires. And so it caused the telegraph systems to fail across the world.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some interesting things that happened. In some parts, the pylons that held the telegraphs were sparking and catching on fire and those kind of things. But in other places, they were communicating with each other, but neither one of them had any power. So their power had been knocked out, but the CME was creating so much power in the lines that they were still able to communicate with each other.
The telegraphs were.
So it's like, let's say you and I you're in New York and I'm in San Francisco. And I'm like, oh, I have no power. I'm not going to be able to communicate. And you're like, oh, I have no power. Well, I heard you say you have no power. Well, I heard you say you have no power. And then they kept going back and forth for hours, sending and receiving communications, even though there was no power.
Whoa.
That's how much charge was put into the system from the solar storm.
Whoa. That's creepy.
It is creepy.
Because back then you're not going to know what is happening or why it's happening.
No.
So then you're going to be like...
That's true. Even more.
Yeah, freaking out.
Like have a ghost telegraph.
Yeah.
So there's record instances in the Earth. These things show up in geological, in either in ice cores, ice samples, they can see evidence of it, or in tree rings, they can see evidence of these big storms because it changes carbon things. And
it's funny that they call it a storm, but it's almost like when you're saying storm, I'm thinking of what I would think of a storm.
yes.
But you're talking about like an electrical storm almost, like
a solar storm, a CME.
Solar storm.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I'm just clarifying for everyone else that doesn't understand. And maybe I'm the only one. You're like, oh, yeah, like a CME. You know, like. Oh,
well,
yeah.
I mean, I explained it so well 5 minutes ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's like a
Perfectly.
solar storm that does weird things to your electrical stuff.
Anything that can conduct a current will receive a current.
Gotcha. Okay. Just to clarify for all of you out there, or maybe just for myself.
No, these are good because I don't know what I'm talking about either.
Okay. Got it.
So, like I said, they've been recorded lots of times. What made the Carrington event so unique was it is the largest one that's ever been recorded, the largest CME, coronal max ejection of the sun. But it also was the first one that was ever...
Like noticeably.
Well, that mixed with modern technology.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, like it wasn't just, wood and Stone Age and all sorts of things like that. That,
right.
You might wake up if you're in the year 800 and be like, whoa, it's really weird. Like, there's all sorts of weird lights in the sky. And you might think the gods are angry or something. But it's not going to mess up your cell phone because you don't have a cell phone.
Right.
So here's the scary thing is we know it's going to happen again. There will be more Carrington style events, more CMEs of that magnitude. It's just a matter of when.
So there hasn't been one that big recorded since 1859?
Correct.
But I mean, everyone has a cell phone.
Right. So that's the scary thing.
So what in the world?
It could happen tomorrow.
But I mean, what would that even look like?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Oh.
So it's like, I envision it in my brain. It's like building a beachfront house in Miami. You know it's going to get hit with a hurricane at some point. Like, there's just no way it's not. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. And you just prepare the best you can, and it is what it is.
But it appears the frequency of hurricanes is a lot more than the frequency of
correct
CMEs.
Sure.
So that's a bonus.
For the CME, yeah.
Well, for all of us, too.
Yeah. So what does happen if a CME hits us today? And you got to remember, it's going to produce a current, anything that runs off electricity.
Which is...
so in our world...
like everything.
Yeah, that's like everything.
That's like everything. Okay.
Yeah. It would be a massive, 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 massive problem for humanity.
But I mean, all it's doing is conducting the electricity for us, so we could just keep using our cell phones like normal. No?
Unless it fries it.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to do a little hypothetical. So let's say, last weekend we were in a family reunion in Wallowa, Oregon. The high of 65 degrees.
Every day.
In the beginning of August.
So cold.
It wasn't like freezing, but when you took clothes to go paddleboarding every day.
Yeah.
And then you don't touch the water because it wasn't that warm. So let's say we're driving home, because we drove home through very windy roads. And let's say that the children have no tablets because they're little morons and they forgot to charge their tablets. And there's no movie in the car because one of them was flipping through the DVDs and left it outside on a picnic table, and we left without them. So we got no movies, we got no tablets, so we're forced to turn on the radio, which our kids don't even know what the radio is. They're like, why are there commercials? Can we skip the commercials?
I actually wonder if we asked them what they would think the radio was.
I don't know.
I want to ask them tomorrow.
They'll be like, can we play this song? That's not how it works. You just listen.
You just
Whatever they put on there, man, that's what you get to listen to.
You are subject to the radio announcer. Okay, so let's say.
So we're driving home, listening to the radio. All of a sudden, it starts getting super staticky. And it's not working anymore.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an official actual sound of a CME interfering with radio waves.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
Okay.
I got that on Google.
Okay.
It wasn't. I made that with my mouth. So it's all of a sudden it stops working. And the reason it has stopped is because there's so much interference from the magnetic radiation from this plasma or from this CME that there's just too much going on in the atmosphere, and the radio waves are getting lost in there. They can't be discerned amongst all the garble.
Would they be hearing a bunch of random stuff?
I don't know what you'd hear.
Okay.
I mean, it sounded, I think, a lot like the noise I just made.
Okay.
But I can't verify that.
Okay.
Because I've never heard it, and I made that up.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's not the end of the world.
No.
But the other problem is a lot of anything that goes or uses a low frequency wavelength would also go dark. And one of those is air traffic control.
Oof, that would be
so
terrible.
You would lose some, and I don't know everything about modern day planes. Maybe some of them wouldn't anymore. But any of them that were using the traditional lower frequencies to communicate, yeah, you'd lose those planes all of a sudden.
Well, what about like even a car? Like, would our car be weird? Because you need like an electrical ignition. Not yet.
So this is just the early phase. At this point, the Earth hasn't actually still been hit by the wave of energy that's coming through the solar system.
It's just getting close.
This is the precursor phase.
Precursor phase.
Interesting thing also, all of those passengers who are flying in planes around the world would instantly receive about a year's worth of radiation being higher up in the atmosphere.
And this is like the normal radiation that is bad. Like,
right.
That we do not want to be exposed to. Okay.
I mean, you're right. Radiation's a very broad term.
Right. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. I don't know what wavelengths we're talking about.
Right. But that's okay.
But yeah, not good things. So all this is just the precursor. You know, all of a sudden we were losing some things. It's weird. We don't know what's going on exactly. But then the actual storm hits. And it's...
I know what happens.
What happens?
Superman comes flying out of the sky in a ball and lands in a cornfield in Kansas.
Maybe. Yeah, I can't disprove that.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
I mean, I don't know. Am I?
I think so.
Yeah, I am.
I hope so.
But I do love Smallville. Okay, anyway, keep going.
I do not.
I know you don't.
So as the actual storm hits, there's so much radiation hitting the Earth that is literally stretching the Earth's magnetic field. So if you envision a baseball, and we're going to put some rubber bands on the baseball, and let's pretend the baseball is the Earth and the rubber bands are the magnetic field around the Earth. So imagine radiation coming in from the sun on one side, and then we're taking the rubber band on the opposite side and we're pulling it away from the Earth. We're stretching it out because there's so much radiation is pounding against the Earth that it's disrupting that pattern. It's what's the word I'm looking for?
The shape?
Yeah, it's changing the shape of it.
It's like when you hit a baseball really hard, it like warps the shape.
It.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or a golf ball.
Right.
Okay.
So in this happening, it's going to disrupt every GPS on the Earth.
Yeah. And like satellite stuff. Yeah.
Satellites are going to start going down left and right.
Yeah.
I don't mean physically down necessarily.
Right.
Yet. They might still. But yeah, their signal is going to go down. So think of all the things in the world that rely on satellite.
I mean, so many things.
So many things.
Cell phones, GPSs, meteorologists, like, I don't even know. Stuff.
Military communications. Military weapons.
Yeah, like to direct. Yeah. All that.
It's all offline. To communicate to big giant ocean liners crossing with all of the goods and services. Well, I guess not services, but all the goods that we rely on every day. They're all lost. Their little GPSs are no longer.
They're just in the middle of the ocean.
Imagine you're hiking, you're backpacking, you've got your little GPS unit, and all of a sudden you're like, where am I?
Yeah.
And so all that is gone instantly, or fairly instantly. So all mainstream communication goes down. Radios don't work. Cell phones don't work. Old school telephones don't work.
Do people still have old school telephones?
My parents do.
Yeah. I mean, not the like circle
but
dial,
hooked to their wall.
But hooked to their wall. Yeah. Wow. It's a weird world we live in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of that goes down. The internet goes down.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's...
No.
I mean, maybe at some places there's still internet, but generally it's going to be very hard for the governments of the world to communicate to their people what's happening. And where think of it too, this is a global event going on. This isn't like, oh, Albuquerque's being hit by some crazy thing, or Miami's getting hit by a hurricane. Send in FEMA.
But I mean, it would hit different places differently, depending on what side of the earth it's coming at, which direction, or would it be mostly equal? I would imagine like some places would be worse than others, just depending on the direction of the CME coming towards the earth. But maybe
I would assume you're right in the sense of radiation and energy and those kind of things, but I don't know if it would make a difference with regards to GPS, things like that. You know, like the satellites that we're relying on right now, I don't know where they're located in orbit, you know, or going back to our cosmonaut one. I mean, back then when they first launched, and whatever year that was in the 50s or whatever, I mean, he could circle the Earth's orbit in an hour and a half, go completely around the world. So, I mean, our satellites that we're relying for, our cell phones and everything they're moving constantly all over the place, right?
Yeah, good point. I just didn't know, to what extent.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know. I'm just
right.
postulating here on the fly.
Right. As am I.
But either way, it's not going to be good. I would think there was some kind of terrorist attack.
Yeah, that is what I think most people would think.
War, you know, like, have we been nuked?
Right.
Have we been, you know, like, what's going on? All of a sudden that just nothing's working.
Yeah, I really do think a lot of people would think it's that, especially given the state of the world right now, you know? Mm-hmm. So, And there would be no way for someone to communicate this, but who would figure out first and foremost that this is it? And could you predict it?
So we'll get to the prediction part later.
Okay.
So even back in 1859, there was an amateur astronomer named Carrington who actually witnessed this event on the sun. Like he was looking at the sun and saw the big CME. So I would assume there would be somebody out there who, I'm going to assume government agencies even, who would know what was happening. Again, it's how do you communicate to billions of people?
Well, and again, it's kind of like they know that like a hurricane's coming well in advance, or they anticipate an earthquake or an avalanche or something. Not perfectly, obviously, but there's a lot more technology. Sure. So like in advance, we're talking, hey, this looks like it's happening, even if it's, I mean, I don't know what that would look like, but would they be able to tell you like a day in advance, or like we see this activity on the sun, we're predicting big stuff, and kind of let people know? Or for fear of panic, would they just, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either. As far as that goes, we will get, like I said, here in a little bit, we'll talk about.
And even then, how can you really prepare? I mean, really, how do you prepare? You can't, there's nowhere you can hide. It's not like you can go in the basement and.
Right. You can't board up your windows. I mean, you could really do a lot of the things that quote unquote preppers do, have food, have.
Right. But you couldn't avoid the radiation element, could you? Or is there maybe some sort of.
But I don't think that that's a big issue for
unless
people
you're up in
down
a plane per se. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I think the bigger issue is the overnight, change from all of our modern amenities to.
And would it fry them and ruin them completely? Or would they just be like out of commission? And then once the CME kind of stops and stuff, would you be able to like recover? Or would it be just.
It's a great question.
Like the lightning that hit
So let's
our
go back
friend's
to
house?
who got hit by lightning?
I don't know if I should say it on air or not.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Oh, yeah. That's right. They did get hit by lightning.
But I mean, it like fried their stuff, so that they needed new electrical stuff done on their home and all sorts of things. So would it be like kind of like that or not quite?
So let's go back to our visualization, our analogy of the baseball.
With the elastic bands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we've got this giant wave of radiation hitting the Earth's atmosphere and pushing the magnetic field, kind of turning it to an egg shape.
Right.
It's stretching that band. And it's building up a ton of potential energy.
Uh-oh.
Well, once the storm passes,
snap back.
all of that comes, the
elastic
kinetic
band,
energy comes soaring back and hits the Earth with this wave of intense power.
Yeah. It's like an elastic band snapping back.
This phase literally does fry circuit boards,
everything.
Wipes hard drives.
Okay.
It's like a EMP times a billion.
Times a billion.
Maybe not a billion, but it's like an EMP hitting the world.
Sorry, I've had like a tickle in my throat for days.
It's allowed.
I apologize. I'm trying to avoid it, but.
So as that comes crashing back and all of that magnetic radiation slams into the Earth, power grids around the world go down.
Okay. So it's not the initial.
Not even they go down. I mean, they burst into flames.
Right.
And remember, anything that can conduct electricity is getting overloaded with this. With this amount of energy.
Wow. This is wild.
Yeah, again, not only are you going to lose power, but tons of things are going to get fried.
Right. So then the reconstruction and the rebuilding of all of that stuff is just.
I mean, your computer's fried. Your pictures that are stored on your hard drive is fried.
Power plants. Way bigger stuff. So then it's like there's no power, there's no electricity. I mean,
there's no power. You have no electricity. You have no fresh water.
Are all those things run?
So, I mean, water out of your tap isn't necessarily running off electricity. It's running off gravity. But cleaning that water, pumping that water, filling water towers.
Yeah.
Is all run off of electricity.
It's not runoff of
magic.
No, not magic, but like water, the flow, like just the flowing of the water.
So it kind of is.
At a dam, kind of running through is what's creating, or like the wind energy. Like that part would still be in, or is there still electrical? Okay.
I mean, you could run water through a turbine in a dam and it would spin the turbine, but there's now no components to carry that electricity anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's
The
just
transformers
spinning.
are gone. The
Right.
computers running it are gone.
Yeah.
And so you have no power. You have limited water. How about that?
Would Lance still have a job?
No.
No, because his involves electricity too.
Yeah. I mean, so she's talking about our cousin who works at a nuclear power plant, which generates power off of nuclear reactions.
Yeah.
But still requires copious amounts of electricity.
It's so interesting. Yeah, like everything.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you would have your fuel pumps would stop working. Your bank account, if it's all online, is gone.
Can I go to my bank and still get my money out?
I doubt it, because how are they going to know how much money you have in there? They don't have a ledger, a little handwritten thing that says, Ethne put in $500 yesterday.
I just have to take my most recent statement or what?
And even then, how are they going to give you the money?
Okay, this is terrifying me.
I mean, banks don't really have much.
I mean, but really, what does the world do at this point? I mean,
you're plunged overnight into the 400 or 500 years.
You literally lose all your money.
Well, if any digital money you have, cryptocurrencies are gone. Your bank account online. I mean, how much money do we have physically? Not much.
No.
I mean, you have an electronic account that says how much money you have.
So, yeah.
Like, think about the great 2020 toilet paper riots of COVID.
I was, even though you said 2020, my brain went back to like the dirty, like the depression. You know what I mean? Like the great 20s.
No, 2020.
Okay. So.
The fight to the death at Costco.
Toilet paper?
Over toilet paper.
What? I still don't understand what that was all about. But anyway.
We're a clean society.
I mean, how and why did this happen? Anyway, that's a totally different ballgame. But I don't know. I can't think about it. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. That's a little nightmarish.
Yeah.
Not this, 2020.
No, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about like, how do you even prove you have any money? But then maybe if something, that's going to fall off the edge. Maybe if something like that doesn't happen, or I mean, if it happens, money doesn't really become important. Like it's like,
I mean, if it
goes back to like, trading and having supplies and stuff is what is important.
Right. I mean, if all of the cards aligned in the worst way possible and you lose all these things, yeah. I mean, having anything, I mean, you're going to be bartering, trading,
So even if I had a bunch of money and I took all my money out of my bank account after this episode because it's freaking me out, it wouldn't even help me probably.
Probably not, because it's a fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. So,
right.
I mean, it's like, here, I'll give you this paper for those beans. And you're like, well, these beans keep me alive. Your paper's worth it. I mean,
right. So I guess there's nothing I can really do to prepare in that regard.
You could convert your money into actual goods that are good during a survival kind of thing. Like canned foods or
right.
water storage.
Yeah, but then I'm that weirdo that's preparing for the stuff that could potentially happen, and then you're like, oh, you weirdo. Like,
yeah, you become a prepper.
Is that like a term, like a prepper?
Yeah. The problem with being a prepper is
you become obsessed with all the weird.
Everyone makes fun of you until they don't, and then you're a genius.
But can you be like a balanced prepper? You don't go way over.
I think we are balanced preppers.
I think we are, but I mean,
no, we've got a lot of food
I think if you talk
stuff.
to a true prepper, they'd be like, oh, you do not. You're not ready.
Probably a little intense for the average person. Like, I've got 3 different water purification systems in our basement. Not like systems, but like ways that I could purify water.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
And we collect rainwater outside.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we do some things. But yeah, it's not like we have a bunker built or that we're thoroughly convinced that the world's ending. And
Or like have, propane connected to our house.
no propane connected to our house.
Like
Do you have a generator?
Like somebody I know. But it's
Right.
not like connected to our house. So like
No.
it's not like backup power, you can switch it on. We'd have a lot of work to do that. Anyway, let's get back on track here.
Well, this is kind of on track. So let's say, for the most part, global power goes down. Imagine the riots instantaneously. I mean, so what food do you have in your house? So the global food chain is gone. There's not going to be any more truckers bringing food every day to the grocery stores.
Because their trucks won't work.
Yeah. And they have no food coming to them or supplies or whatever, without computers, how is a farmer going to get his food to a distribution center? Who's going to get it?
He's going to start taking it to his local grocery store, I guess.
I mean, I would assume in this kind of scenario, you're going to be much better off living in a rural area of the country than an urban area of the country.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Mm-hmm.
Your fridge is going to only work for so long.
Well, even then, it's electrical, so it could get possibly
maybe it doesn't work
fried.
at all.
Yeah.
So your food's going to quickly, diminish. There's no grocery store to go. I mean, there is, but you have no money to pay for anything. And even if you do, can you imagine the amount of insanity there would be?
I don't really want to think about it.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like...
And people are morons, man. Like...
Well, when they're hungry, they get crazy.
If they're hungry, when they're afraid to even be hungry or afraid they can't wipe their butts. Like future events.
Yeah.
They go nuts.
That's true.
So
we're going to make the preppers out there be even more.
We're going to make some people become preppers.
Or we're going to make some people become preppers.
I mean, governments would have to impose curfews. They'd have to impose.
But how would they even communicate?
But yeah, how are you going to communicate it? I mean, governments essentially would fall because what power are they going to have
over the people?
Like police forces and armies work really well to suppress one or two people at a time, but you can't suppress thousands of people at a time.
Yeah. Oh, this one's just, yeah. Like, have they already talked about, like in your research for making this one, the script, potentially predicting? Like, did that come up?
Kind of. We'll get there again.
Okay.
So
sorry.
Let's just finish our doom and gloom.
I don't like it. I want to change the subject.
So no air conditioning or no heat.
That'd
based
be
on
cool.
where you are in the world.
Right. That'd be cold. I mean,
no AC would be doable.
Right.
A lot of places in the world, if you lost your heat real fast, hopefully you can wood burn.
I mean, hopefully you even have like wood to burn, let alone nobody really even has wood burning.
You're gonna have no sewer disposal. You're gonna have no garbage disposal, like services. Like the amount of human waste that we produce all the time.
You can't flush your toilet?
Well, again, you have no treatment plants or anything. So again, you could physically flush your toilet, but I don't know at what point that whole system fails without it actively being maintained and regulated. And
yeah.
So maybe not immediately.
But yeah, it would happen.
But some experts predict, it might take years, if not decades, to get everything, fully back up.
Oh, for sure.
Across the globe. What happens if you have appendicitis?
You go to the hospital?
When the hospital has no power.
You still have a knife.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds fun.
It doesn't sound fun, but I mean, what did they do back in the day?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're instantly thrown back 300 years.
Yeah.
Going into labor, good luck. Breaking your arm, good luck.
Yeah, seriously.
And you would obviously prioritize bringing things back like hospitals.
First, probably. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, any prolonged amount of time of shut, without power. Obviously, they're going to have backup stuff, generators and things for a time, but
yeah, no kidding.
Any prolonged time in certain areas, or especially like giant urban areas where you've got millions of people.
Anyone living in LA or New York, move right now.
Well, you should have moved a long time ago, but yeah. I just kept thinking of different scenarios. What if you're on a business trip?
Like, to get back to your family?
Yeah. You can't communicate with your family.
Mm.
You can't get back to your family.
You just hope if one of those things happen, you're in the right place, which is probably at your home.
Yeah. So that's where I would want to be.
Yeah, that's where I'd want to be.
Or Disneyland.
Yeah, if you're at Disneyland during one of these, you're not riding any rides. So I don't really know why you want to be there.
You just grab all the churros. Make a run for it.
Okay, you go live your best life.
Probably sneak into all the backstage spots. No one get mad at you.
That's true. People would be much more concerned with more important things, except for you.
See?
Perfect.
But that's number 2. I'd rather be home first.
Yeah, okay.
So as far as some good news to
Okay.
sprinkle onto the fear.
Okay, good. I like this part.
We do have satellites that monitor the sun
Okay.
and the polarity of the magnetism. Because sometimes, too, it depends what kind of magnetism it shoots out. Because opposites attract. And, did I say that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the same, reflect each other. So, we do monitor the polarity of these giant magnetic storms that come off the sun.
Even if you're monitoring them, again, you can't prevent them.
No, you cannot prevent them. There's no cool Armageddon style movie.
Right, but can you tell people about them?
So we do have a satellite that can give us advanced warning that one is a brewing and coming. The problem is it can only give us about 30 minutes of warning.
Yeah, that's not enough time at all.
So you got 30 minutes to ground every airplane, shut down every power grid, shut down every dam, shut down every...
Yeah. It's better than nothing.
And then you hunker down and you ride it out.
Again, it's better than nothing, but still, that's terrible.
Terrible.
How do you even communicate it that fast?
I don't know.
That quickly?
You would hope the government knows stuff that we find on the internet and
Yeah.
talk about and have systems in place. But a lot of countries probably don't. Smaller ones.
For sure.
Poorer ones. So there is some hope there.
Mm-hmm. That is hopeful.
It's better than nothing.
Right.
So what's the odds of a Carrington style event happening tomorrow morning? That's the question. They've happened throughout history. We know the biggest one we've ever recorded was in 1859. So one of the problems with a lot of things with recording natural phenomena, though, is, without getting political, people will throw out like this month they keep talking about it's the hottest month ever recorded on planet Earth. It's that we've recorded over the last couple hundred years, out of the billions of years the Earth has existed. I'm not sure we really have a monopoly on saying we know that these are the hottest. There's definitely been a lot of times where the Earth's been a lot hotter. And there's been a lot of times where the Earth's a lot colder. Where we live used to be under, a mile of ice not that long ago. So we say this is the biggest one ever recorded. Well, we've had very limited resources to record them. But it's also been the biggest one with any kind of modern technology. So will it happen again? Totally. It's inevitable. It's just part of the way it works. The question is, what are the odds when? So I didn't know this, but the sun goes through 11-year solar cycles of kind of peak energy, and then it calms back down, and then it peaks and calms every 11 years. So in 1859, the Carrington event took place just a couple months before
the sun's
the
epic
solar peak. Yeah. So our next solar maximum is 2025. So in any solar maximum, or once every 11 years, we have a 4% chance for a Carrington-style CME. On the years that it's not the solar maximum, it drops to like less than a percent, like 0.00 something percent. So that's the next time that we have a higher percentage. And 4% isn't a big percentage, but it's a lot higher than I like.
So now we're going to start tracking the sun's solar potentials every 11 years. It's like a woman's cycle, for those husbands out there that know their but we're going to start watching the sun cycle so that we can be extra prepared on those years, right? Is that what you're telling me?
Totally.
Okay. I like it.
So I did some math. I didn't write it down because I don't trust my math. But I figured if you have about 4% once every 11 years, then you're due for a Carrington-style CME. I think it was like once every 275 years or so.
Yeah, but 1859.
So we're like halfway through that cycle. So we're not due in our lifetime.
Well, that's good. I mean,
It could happen anytime.
I won't be around, so.
Yeah.
No, just make me feel better and tell me I won't be around.
Yeah, I think it was like 2133 or something like that I estimated the next one. But again, that's just based off numbers, not actual, big scientific anything.
Right.
So, anywho.
Carrington-style CMEs. Start becoming a prepper.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Buy some beef jerky.
Some beef jerky. Something that doesn't have to go in a freezer.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
I like it.
So that's what we got going on today.
I like it.
So not that that's so much a strange human thing, but definitely the way we react would be a very
strange human phenomenon.
Correct.
Yeah, for surely. So
it would be just chaos.
It would be. I like to think I wouldn't freak out, but I would.
I don't know what I would do. I think I would just hunker down.
Yeah. I mean, if I was in the right place at the right time, that's exactly what I'd want to do. But I mean, what if we're not? That's the biggest thing, I guess, right?
Yeah. So hope you're at Disneyland.
No, I don't want to be at Disneyland. I don't know where I would want to be besides home. It's really nowhere.
I don't think so. I think you're right. So that's it for tonight.
All right. Well,
something to keep you thinking tonight.
For those of you. Yeah, exactly. For those of you enjoying summer, I know some places have gone back to school and are starting real soon. Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, like places like Arizona and stuff, it's really hot in August. They go back, but they get out earlier, So I do have some friends who have kids already started and stuff. So we have like a whole month left. So we're just trying to soak it up. Yep. Soaking it all in.
Correct. That is what we are doing. Alrighty, everybody. Well, we're going to call it a night tonight and wrap it up. Again, like, share, spread the good word. Again, if you want to get a hold of us, we have a Facebook group at Strangest Species, or you can email us at strangestspecies@gmail.com. And hope everyone has a wonderful night. And hopefully we don't have any giant Carrington-style CMEs before next week's episode. Good night.
Good.